Aemon Targaryen, known as Aemon the Dragonknight, was born in 136 AC to Viserys II. His mother was a beautiful woman of Valyrian descent named Lady Lara Rogar. Aemon was the younger brother of Aegon IV, and the older brother of Nerys. He would grow up to become the greatest jouster and swordsman of his age, dubbed the noblest knight who had ever lived, and would wield Visenya's sword, Dark Sister. He would also live to serve under 5 kings. Despite loving his sister Nerys, their father Viserys II forced his eldest child, Aegon IV, to marry Nerys in 153 AC. And there are quite a few songs and stories told of Nerys and Aemon's love even in current Westeros time. The love between Nerys and Aemon was so strong that supposedly a fight broke out between Aegon IV and Aemon at the wedding of Nerys and Aegon IV. Aemon is also rumored to have cried during the wedding ceremony, and Nerys to sob during the bedding ceremony with Aegon IV. In the same year Nerys married their brother Aegon IV, Aemon would join the Kingsguard during the reign of Aegon III. As a Kingsguard, Aemon would have some interesting adventures. During the reign of Daeron I, the Young Dragon, Aemon would take part in the invasion of Dorne in 157 AC. While fighting in Dorne with his cousin, Aemon would throw himself in front of Daeron his king to prevent a poison arrow from hitting him. Aemon would be sent back to King's Landing to recover from the poison arrow. Later, when Dorne rebelled again, Aemon would fight alongside Daeron once more to keep control of Dorne. During peace negotiations arranged by the Dornish, were betrayed and almost all of them slain. However, Aemon survived, being wounded and captured, but not before he killed 2 of the betrayers. Lord Will would take Aemon, strip him naked, and place him in a cage over a pit of vipers, exposing him to the hot sun of the day and the cold, harsh wind by night. When Baelor I came to the throne and decided to walk to Dorne, barefoot, to sue for peace with Dorne, he came upon Aemon in his cage. Lord Will refused to release Aemon, and Baelor instead offered a prayer for Aemon, swore he'd return, and pressed on. Eventually, Baelor I would come back to Lord Will with the command from the Dornish prince to release Aemon. Lord Will agreed to release Aemon, gave Baelor the key to his cage, and invited him to use it. Aemon begged Baelor to leave him and seek aid in the Dornish marshes instead. Baelor smiled, told him the gods would protect him, and stepped into the pit with the vipers. While some singers say the vipers bowed their heads to Baelor, most say Baelor was bit 6 times by the vipers as he crossed to the cage. Baelor did manage to open the cage, but began to collapse as Aemon thrust open the door and pulled his cousin from the pit. Aemon flung Baelor across his back as the men made bets on whether Aemon and Baelor would make it out alive. Aemon, probably full of adrenaline and rage, climbed to the top of the cage and leapt to safety. He then carried Baelor halfway down the boneway, still naked, until a village septon in the Dornish mountains gave Aemon clothing and an ass to carry the unconscious Baelor. Aemon would eventually get Baelor to Storm's End for treatment, and then King's Landing. During Aegon IV's reign, Aemon would become the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, a position he held until his death. Around this time, Aegon IV's resentment for his celebrated brother grew much worse. Aegon IV's resentment resulted in slighting both Aemon and Nerys at every opportunity. Although Sir Morgul Hostwick accused Queen Nerys of adultery and treason, claiming Nerys' son Daeron wasn't Aegon IV, many believe it was Aegon IV who instigated the accusations, since Aegon IV wanted to do anything to slight his brother and sister, but also had a little bit of anger towards his son Daeron. Nevertheless, Aemon challenged Sir Morgul to a trial by combat to prove Nerys' innocence, resulting in Sir Morgul's death. And unfortunately for Aegon IV, this event actually made Aemon more famous and inspired more songs about him. And just when you think Aemon can't get any more awesome, he once entered a tournament as a mystery knight after finding out Aegon was going to crown his mistress the Queen of Love and Beauty, and not their sister and Aegon's wife Nerys. Calling himself the Knight of Tears, Aemon won the tournament and named Nerys the Queen of Love and Beauty, much to Aegon's anger. But all good men must die, and Aemon would eventually be slain while saving the life of his brother Aegon IV. And if you don't hate Aegon IV, here's why Aemon died. When Aegon IV found his mistress, Bethany Bracken, cheating on him with a Kingsguard named Sir Terence Tone, Aegon IV had Bethany and Sir Terence executed. Sir Terence's brothers came after Aegon IV to seek revenge, and the plot ended with Aemon being slain while saving Aegon. And surprise, Aegon would do little to honor his brother after he gave his life for him. The same was true for their sister Nerys, who would die shortly after Aemon. And Aegon IV would try and try to blacken his brother's name even after death, claiming Aegon IV's son, Daeron, wasn't his and the product of Nerys and Aemon's adultery. But all attempts by Aegon would fail, and Aemon would always be remembered as a legendary knight and respected figure throughout Westeros. Make sure you come back every Sunday and Wednesday for Game of Thrones videos. And update, I said we were going to start on a new house history on the 14th, but I am a dirty, dirty liar. So many people messaged me with Targaryen video suggestions that I'm moving Dorne house history to the 21st of June, which I know is a bummer for some people. But with my work schedule, I just couldn't get all the Targaryen videos I wanted to get done by this Sunday, and all the suggestions were just so good. But for realsies, the 21st is time to move on. On the bright side, the Rawrist should be at 10,000 subscribers by the end of next week, so that's when the giveaway will be done. Thank you to everyone that voted for what to actually give away, and for listening to me prattle on about things I love.